Hey guys, what's up? I guess I better take the face mask off so you can hear me. But hey there, welcome back to my channel. I am excited about this video today. I'm going to be talking about what it is like to be pregnant during a global pandemic. COVID-19. Whew, man, has it not taken the world by storm and made us all sort of feel like we are in a storm. So I will just start by saying that I am 17 weeks pregnant today, and I have been going through a range of emotions, if I'm being 100% honest. This has been an interesting pregnancy. My last pregnancy was interesting because I had a high-risk pregnancy with my daughter. That was my first pregnancy. She's 3 now, almost 4, so that was almost 4 years ago. And that one was a little, scary at times too. But even though I am high risk because I'm carrying identical twins, I'm also a little just nervous because we have coronavirus that is highly infectious and it's going around, and it seems like every day we look up there's so many new cases. So I know that for me, I'm a journalist. I'm a TV news reporter. I go out almost every single day and I'm talking to people, interviewing them, obviously trying to adhere to social distancing rules and not be close to people when I do the interviews and that kind of thing. But at the same time, it's just sort of always in the back of your mind, like, I know I'm not close to this person, but I've heard varying things about 6 feet, 10 feet, the virus lingering in the air, breathing the same air as someone who has the virus and that kind of thing. So those things can be very, very scary. Also, I had a doctor's appointment last week, and when I went to that doctor's appointment, they told me, or the day before the appointment, they called me and they said, listen, you cannot bring a guest with you. And when you're seeing a maternal fetal medicine doctor, which is a high-risk doctor who deals with high-risk pregnancies, you always want to have sort of that support there because they're doing these ultrasounds and they're giving you this sort of rundown of how your pregnancy's going, and it's nice to have someone there to be able to lean on if they were to give you some, bad news. And you cannot have anyone with you. So they called, they said, listen, you can't bring a guest. Your orders are to actually call when you arrive. Sit in your car until a room is ready. We'll call you. You come up, you check in, you go directly to your room. We see you, and then you leave. Also, we have to check your temperature before you enter the office. So it definitely felt different. A lot of differences there. I'd actually never attended. I don't think I've ever attended. Well, that's not true. When I was pregnant with Gianna and one of my appointments with these babies, I have gone alone. However, all the appointments I've ever had during pregnancy, I've had someone with me. So that's an adjustment to have to go and to do that with nobody there, especially when you're watching the ultrasound, which is super cool with twins, to see 2 babies on the monitor and see what baby A is doing, what baby B doing, and how they're doing different things. And then not having anybody there and say, oh my gosh, look what A is doing, look what B is doing. And not to have that there is hard too. But people are going through some things that are incomparable compared to me, just not having a guest in the room during my appointments. I had this mask on because I just kind of wanted to show it off. This is a mask that was made by someone I did a story with the other day, and they've made 1,000 of them. A group of women have been sewing them. They've been putting little elastic straps with material and polypropylene, I think is what it's called. 100% polypropylene in here, which is supposed to keep germs from getting in. They are washable, but this is what a lot of nurses and frontline workers need right now because PPEs are short. That's the protective gear equipment that the nurses and doctors and even firefighters and all the different frontline workers have been wearing. They're short on those, and these masks have really been helpful to them. I was thankful enough that she gave me one to wear as well, so I'm planning on wearing that when I'm reporting and I'm out in the field. It just makes me feel safer, even though there are some things that you can read about how if it's not tight here or here, you could potentially still have germs enter. But I just feel like if you take the precautions, and I've said this a million times, if you take the precautions and you still get COVID-19, at least you can know in the back of your mind, hey, I took those precautions. as someone who I wouldn't say is immune compromised, some people would say if you're pregnant, you are immune compromised, but on the list of people most vulnerable to coronavirus, actually, I have not seen pregnancy as, it varies. Some lists have it, some people don't. But the thing that I will say is that as someone who is pregnant and going through this as well, I am really advocating for people, please, 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 please do your part in distancing yourself. Something that I talked about this morning with my family was about Easter. So Easter is just a couple of weeks away. And I'm really nervous that people are going to say, man, there's no church today, there's no Easter egg hunts, I really just want to see my family, and they're going to go to some sort of family gathering. And I'm nervous that people are going to want to go to Granny's house and eat Granny's food, and they're going to want to gather with their family and, you know, just do traditional stuff. But we can't do that. We cannot afford to do that. There's so many things that I think people are just starting to get sort of stir crazy, and they're wanting to see people. And I've just seen so many things on social media with people having these small gatherings. They're like, oh, you know, my birthday, I didn't want to miss my birthday, so I invited my 3 best friends over. I invited my 4 best friends over, and we did this or whatever. But that's too risky. And it's really important that we're staying within the confines of our home and around the same people every day, because that way we kind of know who's in, who's out, that kind of thing, just to sort of keep that rhythm, that flow. So I am just encouraging you, asking you to please be mindful of that when you are over the next few weeks or months, as we continue to stay in isolation, that we are careful and mindful of who we're around. And please, like I've read this thing posted on social media a million times. It says, if you were diagnosed today and the doctor asked you, who have you been around the last 14 days, would you be proud of yourself? And for me, I think that I can attest I would be, because aside from a couple of different people I've interviewed, which still from a distance, I can safely say that I've gone to work and come home, working with the same photographer at work every day and that kind of thing, and doing my best to stay safe, washing my hands, wearing gloves, sanitizing. I mean, the whole works. I've never thought that as a germaphobe I would say I'm tired of washing my hands. I never thought I would say that, but man, I've washed my hands a lot. So yeah, that's just sort of my message just to people, to please, 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 especially for those who are at higher risk of getting this and it really being detrimental to their health. Please stay at home and be cautious. Again, another thing I read, please don't go to the grocery store in groups. There's no need for anybody other than one person in your household to go to the grocery store. So really the biggest thing about being, I guess, pregnant with COVID-19 happening right now and the coronavirus pandemic is just that you are on heightened alert. You are very much worried about who you interact with and who you pass on the sidewalk and who touched that box and that thing and all kinds of different things like that. And I just, like I said, I was very vulnerable when I said I am nervous. And there are times when I say, oh my gosh, you know, what happens if I get it? Like, what happens? What happens if a woman carrying twins gets coronavirus? Do I get hospitalized? Do I self-quarantine? Like, I don't know. And I don't want to think about it. I just want to trust God and know that He is keeping us safe throughout this. And I want to share a verse that I came across when I was doing my devotional the other night. And this is one that I hadn't actually, I'm not sure if I've ever read this verse before, but I definitely bookmarked it because, can we just talk about how the Bible app always wants you to rate it? And you're like, listen, I use the Bible app every day. Trust me, I like it. So it is Psalms 145:14, and this is from the New Living Translation. It is, the Lord helps the fallen and lifts those bent beneath their loads. That verse really resonated with me during this time, because when I think of the Lord helping the fallen, you know, the fallen can be so many people. It can be people who are out of work right now, people who have had to shut their businesses down because of coronavirus, and then those who are bent beneath their loads. I just think about all the people who are overwhelmed. I know for me, my daughter is out of daycare. She's at home with us every day. We're working, my husband's working from home. I'm sort of working from home at times. And it can be hard to manage your workload and then making sure she's doing some sort of activity, learning, educational activity, while still you're staying engaged with her so she doesn't feel alone, but you're trying to finish your work too. It is hard, and I can only imagine people with multiple children or single moms who are trying to do this by themselves. My heart is with them because it's a lot to manage, or people who have had to lay off their employees and pick up the workload alone. And I just keep thinking about those who are a bit beneath their loads. And I also got the mental image of nurses and doctors in hospitals who are so overwhelmed with taking care of these patients because they want to save their lives. But can you imagine walking in room after room of a COVID patient who you are, and you're afraid for your health and for what you could bring home to your family and your kids? And that is such a scary thing to go through. And so when I think of bit beneath their load, I think about all of the nurses and doctors who are carrying the weight of this on their backs, and even the scientists who are working to try to develop things to make us to give us vaccines for this and that kind of thing. So I think we should just be praying for those who are, again, fallen and bent beneath their loads. But as the word says, the Lord will help those who are fallen and bent beneath their loads. And again, God will never give you more than you can bear. This simply says that when you're bent beneath your load, that your load is heavy and you may be, bent down. But remember that all we have to do is give it to Him, and He will fight that battle, even though I know it's easier said than done. So that's really it for me. I wanted to just talk about that because it's heavy, and I know we talk about it a lot, but it is important to talk about the emotions behind it. Not just, did you hear that it could last this long? Did you hear that this could come and this could happen? And did you hear that we could lose this or lose that? I think it's important to think beyond that and to just, I asked Greg the other night, how do you feel about it? Like, what are your emotions behind it? And I think it's important to talk about your emotions, and that's something that we've done too. And then lastly, I know a lot of people are doing a lot of Netflix and reading during the pandemic. I have watched Tiger King and a couple of different things, but I'm gonna start reading, and I just got this book. When You're Expecting Twins, Triplets, or Quads. Thankfully, we fall in the twin category. Geez, triplets or quads, I don't even know. But so I got this book, and I'm going to start reading it. I heard it was the best book for people who are expecting multiples. So I'm super excited to dive in and learn more, aside from all the Googling that I've been doing about what to expect. I didn't read any books with Gianna because I didn't want to have information overload, but something tells me this is going to be a little bit different. So I'm definitely excited to read this book and learn more about expecting twins. So thank you guys for watching, and do not forget to subscribe. Bye.